All right, we got Dynasty buy or sell.
Mm-hmm.
The off-season edition. Most of free agency has happened now. We're waiting for the draft. And now we are talking about Antonio Gibson. J.D. McKissic comes back.
That's right.
And now we can pretty much assume this is the backfield. Gibson, McKissic, Patterson.
Correct.
This feels like the room that they will most likely go in the season with. They might add someone. But we got to talk about if we are buying or selling Gibson for Dynasty purposes. In 2021, he rushed for over 1,000 yards on 4 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns on the ground. He had 42 receptions for almost 300 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. Finished as the RB10. So, Badake, I'm excited to discuss this one. I feel like the community is just always up and down on Gibson. And I want to know from your perspective, are you buying, meaning trading for, or selling, meaning trading away Antonio Gibson this offseason?
Yeah, as a Gibson owner, I have that feeling with the community where I'm back and forth. But for right now, for this take, I am buying. But I'm actively buying or actively listening for offers for like to see if they want to buy Antonio Gibson. Because I'm really open to it because I'm scared as a Gibson owner. You know, I'm scared of the future. I'm scared of this J.D. McKissic signing. I'm scared of everything that's happening. That's going to happen in the next coming years, okay? We all know that Gibson can ball. You know, from weeks 10 to 16 this past year, he was RB5. We know his upside. I do believe, coming to last year, both of us, we both believe he could be a top 8, for me, top 5 finish because there was so much expectation for Antonio Gibson coming into this past season. So what are my reasons of worry? Okay, I really have only 2 reasons, and one is the numbers that Gibson put up his rookie year. Okay, when he came in, he balled out. Okay, we saw a stretch where he was scoring a lot of touchdowns. You know, he finished RB13, especially in that Thanksgiving game, scoring 3 touchdowns.
Was the game.
Yeah, that was the game
where everyone said this is Gibson. This
exactly,
is what it's gonna be
35 plus points, and I was excited, and then the expectation just skyrocketed. Okay, 2, the reports that came in the off season before coming into 2021. Okay, what was the reports? Ron Rivera said that Antonio Gibson was going to get it CMC type work. And that just skyrocketed Antonio Gibson. That made me move him up my rankings. I think that changed everyone's expectations for Antonio Gibson because when Ron Rivera says he's going to do something, he does it. We saw that with CMC, and we hope that was going to happen with Antonio Gibson, and that wasn't the case. And yes, Antonio Gibson was hurt. He had that shin injury, and he was up and down the whole season. J.D. McKissic effect happened. You know, I think that was inevitable. And the time on the field got less and less, probably because of that injury, which is fair. But I think they found a good, 50-50, 60-40 workload with J.D. McKissic and Antonio Gibson. I do believe they're going to continue. Why? Is because J.D. McKissic came back. He came back. He had a deal on a team that is a Super Bowl caliber team that is going to consistently make the playoffs for at least the next 3 to 4 years. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to go stay with Washington. I think that they're going to be utilizing him. Maybe in the background, they promised him that same workload of this past year. And I'm scared of that, from weeks 13 to 18, J.D. McKissic missed week 13 to 18. And that's why Antonio Gibson was finished as an RB10, in my opinion, because if that was the case, I think he would have finished a lot lower. So,
I mean, if McKissic was healthy?
Exactly. If McKissic was healthy, I do believe Antonio Gibson would have finished a lot lower because he did miss the end of the season, J.D. McKissic did. So, for me, I am hesitant, but I am buying because I believe in Antonio Gibson's talent. I believe in everything that he's done. He's a pass-catching back, and we really haven't seen that much of it, in my opinion.
42 receptions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad, but
I'm scared. I'm scared of J.D. McKissic in this effect. And I know you're a Washington team fan. Or Washington Commanders, excuse me. And I know that everything, I just know you have so much more insight, more understanding of this team. So please.
Right. No, look, I mean, here's the deal. Like when J.D. McKissic went to Buffalo, right? When the reports came out that he was going to Buffalo, I remember we had a live stream that day and everyone's like, oh my God, Antonio Gibson is going to be a top 5 running back this year. And I remember saying to everyone, I can promise you this isn't the final running back room. I assumed we would have signed someone else or we would have drafted someone because we weren't going to go into the year with just Gibson and Patterson. J.D. McKissic comes back, and now I feel like we just need to be realistic. So My perspective on my buy or sell is going to be based off of what I think it takes to acquire Gibson from my own trades, because I have made trades this offseason to get Gibson,
Right.
as well as crowdsourcing information, okay, from around the community. So based off of what it takes to get him, I am a big buy. I am buying Antonio Gibson. Let's look at a couple things here. Number one, proven production. I just took down a note while you were speaking. You said last year we had such big expectations. You know, you had him as a top 8 running back. I had him as a top 8 running back. Finished RB10. So
Yeah.
as much as we're sitting here slightly disappointed, he finished as a top 10 running back in fantasy this year. But he's got proven production. 2 straight years of proven production. In 2020 as a rookie, over 1,000 all-purpose yards and 11 total touchdowns on 4.7 yards per carry. All right, that was 18th best amongst running backs as a rookie. A friendly reminder, Gibson is still learning the running back position. I think now he's at a place where after this second year, he fully knows that RB position, but he's been learning that position for a while. That's not his traditional position that he grew up through Pop Warner, through high school. You know,
Right.
He had to learn this position. Finished as a top 13 running back in 2020. Then this last year, over 1,300 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns, 42 receptions. I mean, that definitely went up from his rookie year. He had more receptions, more targets, even though J.D. McKissic was there, and he finished the RB10. And like you mentioned,
Right.
and I don't think we should under-highlight this. I want to make sure people are aware.
Right.
If you didn't know, you probably knew, but friendly reminder, that shin bruise was an injury that was bugging him the entire year. It is one of those injuries similar to a groin in the sense that it doesn't heal if you take a couple weeks off. Like, you need to give it full months of rest in order for that shin to properly heal. And he played throughout that entire injury. And as someone who watches every Washington game, I could see he wasn't himself. So he's performing, you know, maybe at 90% of what he is. And that 10% is important because I do think he could have made more out of some of the opportunities given to him. And that shin bruise absolutely affected his efficiency. Even still, let's look at last year. Was he efficient? All right. Was he given opportunities as well?
Right.
Well, he was 4th in red zone touches amongst running backs, 4th in carries, which to me, by the way, highlights they want him to be that workhorse, 6th in rushing yards amongst the NFL, 5th in evaded tackles, 8th in breakaway runs, 11th in yards created. Yards created meaning whatever was not blocked for him. He created those yards by himself.
Right.
All right. So to recap, RB 13 and 10 finishes in his first 2 years. And as a community, we are still disappointed by Antonio Gibson.
Right.
I understand it because talk of CMC, the Carolina offense.
I think even coming in the first part of the season, we were having the conversation in like the first 5 weeks. I was like, bro, Antonio Gibson is like, I drafted him really high, and I feel like he's not getting me that RB. I don't know. I honestly don't remember where I drafted him, but I did draft him probably in the second, maybe late second of redraft perspective, and I just wasn't getting that. I wasn't getting the workload, and I felt very underwhelming. I was like, well, I was hoping he was getting at least 18 plus points, and every single week it was like 9 points, 12 points, and didn't feel like I hit that home run.
As more and more running back rooms become a split group, as more NFL teams adopt this RB1-2 mentality, the running back position itself, consistency will be more key than anything soon, right? Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, these are the kind of players who probably are not going to be scoring 30 points a game, but when they get you 17 points a game, you will be very happy with that because of the way the NFL is moving. But secondly, let's talk about this offense next year. Let's project into next year. I cannot believe these words are about to come out of my mouth, but Carson Wentz is the best quarterback that Gibson has played with as an NFL player. Okay,
Right.
Let's think about this for a second. Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, and Taylor Heineke. Let's look at last year alone, because I don't even want to talk about QBR for Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith. It was atrocious. But let's talk about Taylor Heineke last year, okay? 23rd in total QBR, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and Washington scored the 23rd most points per game, which is pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Like lower half of the league, lower third of the league. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, was 9th in total QBR, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The Colts scored the 9th most points per games. Pretty good. Top 10. Of course, JT helped a lot there. QBR is not perfect. However, Wentz had a better rating than Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Derek Carr. So again, that should really highlight how imperfect QBR is, right?
Right.
But at a minimum, Carson Wentz was very efficient for this Colts offense and good for the running back position in fantasy. How could we disagree that he was very good for running backs in fantasy last year? So
JT.
Could we see the same efficiency and ability to move the offense in Washington? I think so. Could we see that lead to more scoring opportunities for Gibson? I believe so. I think it's fair to say that Carson Wentz is the best quarterback this team has seen since Kirk Cousins. And when Kirk Cousins was there, this was a top 10 offense. Now, Kirk Cousins is very different. It's a different situation. But I think it's fair to say that Washington can go from 23rd most points per game to, let's say, 16th, even middle of the pack. I think that's a very realistic possibility with Carson Wentz stepping in there. So for me, I do think that there will be more scoring opportunities. And we've seen Antonio Gibson be successful with J.D. McKissic. You have to be realistic with J.D. McKissic because there is a capped upside, right? I mean, if we want to quickly just look at that, the capped upside with J.D. McKissic, he's going to get similar amount of targets almost every year, okay? Mm-hmm. So while Gibson is probably never going to be top 5, if he's top 10 for the next 4 to 5 years, will I be disappointed? I don't think so. Right. I think I'll be more than happy with a top 10 running back for the next 4 to 5 years. So I know that the upside is capped. I agree. Because I talked about Gibson being one of my biggest losers after free agency because that upside is capped. I mean, you look at 2020, McKissic had the most targets of anyone in the NFL. 2021, McKissic had the 19th most targets. And if you look at a per game basis last year, Gibson was getting almost a target and a half less per game. So there's definitely a capped upside here because McKissic works, right? Like he's great for this offense. So there's this weird like complementary way where I'm okay with that because the offense is going to be more efficient with McKissic playing that role. Mm-hmm. Gibson will hopefully be in less positions to injure himself, and there will be more scoring opportunities. So again, it all comes down to value. And at the end of the day, I thought to myself, is there a running back in this class that I could replace Gibson with? Breece Hall is the only one.
The only one.
But you're not going to send Gibson and get the 101. That's just not going to happen. No one's going to do that. So for me, I easily would take Gibson over Kenneth Walker, over Isaiah Spiller.
Agreed.
Whoever you can get from the 105 and above, because let's talk about the value now, what it's going to take to get Gibson. And from what I have both done in my own leagues and what I've seen from crowdsourcing, I've taken both of those. The 105, if you're looking for a draft pick in particular in this year's rookie drafts, seems like what it would take to grab Gibson. And to me, easily I would do that. Easily. Right. I mean, if you're looking for a running back after Breece Hall, there's no one who is going to be guaranteed to be in Gibson's position. And as you know, Gibson's not really that old either. So for me, I'm easily buying based off of the price that I think it would take. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you go here, but there's a couple of running backs that I think that you could flip to get Gibson as well. But I'll let you go just quickly. Tell us what value you see.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you if I'm buying Antonio Gibson. I want the 105 and above. But I wanted to bring the perspective if you were to sell Antonio Gibson as well, because that was kind of the take that I was saying. You know, like maybe you're on the fence. Maybe you're listening for other people to see what you can get for Antonio Gibson. So these are the players, depending on whether you're a win-now team. This could be, win-now team, a futuristic team. Maybe you want to you put in a package. You want to get some picks. These are players that I would be listening to in a package, okay? Just because I believe in their upside, I believe in their situation, or whatever the case may be. Leonard Fournette, Elijah Mitchell, a Josh Jacobs, a Joe Mixon, and maybe you have to overpay for some of these guys. Obviously, a Breece Hall, depending on where he goes. DeAndre Swift, clearly. Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, and Travis Etienne. Those are the guys that I'm interested in, whether you have to pay more or you have to get one of these players in return. I'm actively listening. Not saying I would accept these trades. I'm listening in a package with these guys if I were to be selling Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I don't know about the Lenny one. The Lenny one feels quite off for me. Like
I get what you're saying.
Completely different tiers.
The thought process was that like, hey, Lenny with Tom Brady for another hopefully 2 years, and he can be a top 5 guy because now who's going to be?
I think if you make that move, you're going to have to get a lot of draft
and
capital.
obviously you're in a this is a package deal. You're in a win now situation. Maybe you're trying to win. Maybe you get Lenny in the first of 2023 or whatever the case may be.
Right.
However it can work out for you. That's my thought process.
Okay, I'm going to bring from a perspective of these are running backs that I would move to get Gibson. And I've done this one. I moved Dalvin Cook straight up for Gibson this offseason in the league.
Right.
I did that because for me, I would prefer to have Gibson long term. Dalvin's already on that second contract.
Yeah, makes sense.
We know who Dalvin is, but for me, Gibson's still on that first contract, only 2 years into it. So Dalvin Cook, Elijah Mitchell, I would prefer Gibson over Mitchell. Don't know how long Mitchell will be the running back there, based off of the history of that team.
Correct.
I would rather have Gibson over Saquon, Alvin Kamara, Cam Akers. So these are guys that I think that you could probably move around to make some of these deals happen. And to be honest, for the Cam Akers one, you could probably get picks in return with Gibson, some lower level picks, as well as Saquon, based off of what the community thinks of him sometimes. So
yeah,
I would prefer those guys over Gibson. I think that you can get those deals done. And the last thing we'll do is talk about startup drafts. For me, I'm taking Gibson anywhere in the 5th round. That feels ideal.
Yeah,
so once the 501 hits, anywhere from the 501 onwards is where I'm aiming to grab him. You might have to reach into the 4th.
Exactly.
But for me, I am going to be waiting until the 5th. So if I miss out on Gibson, I miss out on him. But that's where my head is in startups.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you probably will have to reach for Antonio Gibson with the age and the thought process of him, being a pass catching back. And maybe he does fall now with J.D. McKissick there. So maybe he goes in the mid 5th and it feels a lot more comfortable to take him there. So yeah, completely agree on where he's going.
Yes, sir. All right, let us know. Are you buying or selling Gibson? Tell us in the comments below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.